so it doesn't work.
I know how that is. Yeah.
It's like that thing between the share and the screen. Let's go. Okay, now we are on. Yeah, now we're online. Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. So today is August 7th, and it's my great pleasure to receive here it's my honor to receive this great friend, great bassist, elect president of the ISB, my friend, a long time, Sturm. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
So this is the uh, my life on 140, and every time I have this big round number, hun, I have a little drink to celebrate. So I have here a little cachaça. Yeah,
Uh,
it says cachaça from the south of Brazil.
and I have some coffee, and I don't know if it's Brazilian or not, but it could be.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Cachaça in a little glass from Belém. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So it's 140 days here, every day at 3 o'clock for us. Talking to these wonderful musicians. It's great to have you. And the very first thing I always ask is, how is your life on quarantine? You washing too many dishes?
Yeah. No, you're right. We don't eat out as much anymore. It's true, but no, we're lucky. We're lucky here in Lincoln, Nebraska, because we're isolated a little bit. It's nice. The city is 300,000 people, so it's not small, but it's not like big city with lots of people. So we wear our masks. We go out when we have to for the groceries, but we have a house. Jackie loves to cook and garden, and we do our thing, exercising. She's got her yoga online first thing in the morning. She has her Zoom yoga, and I hop on the bicycle and do some riding, and so it's all right. And we've been busy. I mean, frankly, we've got a lot of projects and things going on, so it's been okay.
Yeah. And the bass community is doing lots of things online, right? We've seen lots of events. I think we were together in one or two of these lately.
Yeah, it's been wonderful, and there've been some things happening sort of privately also with the different groups. But yeah, so I mean, all this happened to sort of speak about what's happened with us. I was in Costa Rica with Jackie and my son, teaching for Santi, Juan Pablo, but he calls Santi Sobario, who is from Costa Rica, and he teaches at the National Institute for Music, and he also teaches at one of the universities. But the National Institute, it's for all ages, and it's connected to the National Symphony.
Okay.
And so I was teaching. I was there a little more than a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days. They had 25 bass students coming, and they wanted to do an orchestra class and a tech class and go. And this was right at the beginning of March, so COVID was out there, but it really hadn't hit the States much. And Costa Rica, it was like it wasn't a thing. The day we left to come back, the next day they closed the Costa Rican border. So it was like, yeah, we're not dealing with this. And then it went crazy. So I had to finish the semester online, like many of us did have to teach online for the semester, and then lost a lot of freelance work. I had Mahler too with the Omaha Symphony with. It was. I really wanted to play that gig. But
a lot of our colleagues, they're not teaching at universities, took all their jobs, and they're completely without outcoming, and
Yeah, yeah. So Jackie and I have been doing some online concerts as benefits. So, for instance, in the city, we have our big concert event center is called the Lead Center, and it has 3 theaters in the building, but the largest one is a 3,000 seat auditorium, and they have big things coming. We have London Symphony, Chicago Symphony, Phantom of the Opera, all the big shows. But they lost everything for the second half of the season. We were asked to do something, so we did an online concert, a benefit for them, like this, Facebook Live. And then there's a jazz festival here called Jazz in June. So we did a concert for them. And of course, we did something for the Kansas City-based workshop for Johnny. Jackie and I played a duo concert for them. And of course, I go way back with Johnny to the Rabat days in the 90s. We were together about as long as we've known each other. Yeah. And then the International Online Bass Summit that Barry Green and Jason Heath put together.
On the Bass Summit, yeah, I was there. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot bigger than I expected, actually.
Yeah, the response was overwhelming, and I'm very grateful to, speaking on behalf of the ISB, very grateful to Barry and Jason, because the majority of the money that came for people paying to attend that came over to the is being donated to the ISB. And as you know, it's the same thing for the for the folks who are our major sponsors who are in the business, string manufacturers, bass makers, and so on. Everybody's getting hit.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you about that. So it's gonna be your second term as ISB president, right?
Yes.
That's a very wanted president. We like it so much. So
I can, if you are interested, I can tell you what happened. This was not. I can say this was not my idea.
Well, the board is wise,
Well, I don't know. Here we are in a pandemic. We'll see we'll see how wise everything was. But in 2017, when Nicholas Walker took over as the president after being the president-elect, we did a lot of changes in the board, organizing teams of people. Instead of having board members who were, say, for instance, you're a jazz player, you represent jazz. You're a classical player, you represent classical, or you represent teaching, or this kind of thing. Instead, the idea was what we really need is people to take care of the business of the board. We don't need a representation really on the board, jazz player, classical player. That doesn't mean as much as having people who represent those areas like marketing and membership and education, and then have those people on the board form teams outside of the board who then help to do the work of the board and get all that moving. So because I have experience with nonprofits, I founded the Madison Music Collective with Joan Wildman years ago, and then I've been working with the Meadowlark Music Festival. They put me in charge of the governance team. And the governance means rewriting the bylaws, writing an operations manual, doing all the kind of heavy lifting that nobody else wants to do. So
I know that feeling, the doing what nobody else wants to do.
Yeah, it's a big job, but it's a necessary job, and I'm interested and I have some experience in it. So, but each time I would bring a revision forward to the board, they would make more comments, more revisions. So I think for the operations manual, we have something like 17 different revisions. The complete document was revised 17 times. And part of that was, okay, what's the process of electing a new president, of bringing a new president forward? Because before that was a decision that was made by the executive board. That was not an election. So I wrote up this whole process. It got bandied about, and we went back and forth. And I said, okay, so the board members make nomination, and then the president of the board will contact the people who have been nominated and ask them if they're willing to serve. And so I got all that together, and it was approved. And then about 2 weeks later, I got a call from Nicholas, and when I see that, it's like, oh, geez, do we have a problem with this? Do I have to rewrite this? What's going on? And he says, you've been nominated.
You got it. That's the problem when you do the job. You know?
Yeah, right. Then you have to do. So I said I would accept the nomination. Obviously there was a vote. I would accept the nomination, provided that, because the board had grown, it was bigger, 22 people maybe. And so I said, look, not everybody knows everybody. So I said, for those people nominating, if I'm going to be, then pleased to ask for a bio and then a vision for the ISP. If everybody does that and the board decides that what I'm interested in that aligns with what they're thinking is, then fine, I'll accept. Otherwise, it's okay. So they elected.
Well, I loved the news for when I heard, of course, because, we've been watching you work for such a long time, and you obviously have all the skills, and everything. And you're a great musician, and everybody,
It's in the mail. I'll pay a little bit.
It's okay. But it's also, I think it's also great to have you in this moment when we have to do so many things online, and you are so familiar with all the technologies, always being ahead of this. So I think it's all perfect.
Well, there's a lot I don't know, and in fact, a ton I don't know. I can say though, for those who are looking for a solution, in part, the latest thing that I have discovered, which is very helpful, because we do a lot with Zoom, the Zoom meetings, and the audio is not so good for the bass on Zoom. Mm-hmm. There is a website called the Bulletproof Musician. And originally this website came about because people get very nervous when they play. And so it's to help them to do that and to play. And I'm going to look for one of the books. I'm going to forget his name now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just catching the.
Yeah, I can send it, but so they for good online audio, there is a program that's free called Clean Feed, CLEANFEED. And what you do is, as a teacher, you register your account, and then you send an email invitation to the student. There you got it. Yes, bulletproofmusician.com. And what happens with the Zoom then is you have the visual of the Zoom, but the audio comes through Clean Feed instead of the Zoom video.
Would you spell it for me on a private chat so I can see it here?
The Clean Feed?
Yeah, if you type on private chat, I can share with everyone. Yeah.
And so the Clean Feed, it's the quality of what's called an ISDN line. The ISDN lines date back, I guess to the 80s. But when Jackie was singing jingles she sang in English and in Spanish. She sang the jingles at the end. There was a department store in the United States called Montgomery Ward's, which later became Ward's. And she sang the tagline for that right up until the end. The company finally went bankrupt. But when she sang that, they would connect her audio and send it by an ISDN line, so it would go almost automatically. This is before we had high-speed internet. So the Clean Feed is taking advantage of that quality of technology, so the audio goes much, much quicker on a high bandwidth. And so if you nose around on the bulletproofmusician.com website and look for online video, it's
Uh,
I'm not going to find it, but anyway, there's a little section on the clean feed, and it'll give you an example. Like here is a video with just the using Zoom. Here's video using Zoom with a microphone and so on. Here's using Zoom with a microphone and clean feed, and you can really see the difference. And it's all free. So
wow, this is great. Yeah, it's great.
So hopefully
we have so many students like putting, aside because they're not financially able to have an internet in good quality or to buy programs. So it's always helpful to have to know that we have more free programs. The most.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to depend on a decent internet connection. That's the downside. I wish that were not the case. But the upside for all of this, for the International Online Bass Summit, for the Kansas City-based workshop, is we're connecting with a much bigger world. I think, in some aspects of the convention that'll be in Lincoln for the ISB in 2021, I hope everybody comes. And I hope we get past as much as we can the virus and it's safe, because as you know, being together and exchanging ideas and is just so fabulous. But for sure, I think at least two of the major venues have already streaming set up in them, and the third one for the jazz, I think will also have streaming set up, but we have to do that later. So there will be online. Yeah.
That was something I was going to ask you actually. If you were 100%, going for presential type of event, but I think we're going to have mixed, right?
It will be mixed, and we need to encourage people to come if it's safe, and plus we can't film, we can't broadcast everything because some people are not going to want their stuff broadcast, first of all. Second of all, we just can't do it. We don't have the resources to have that many rooms covered. We're talking about, of course, some of the main events. Joseph Conyers of the Philadelphia Orchestra, who is involved with that project A440, and the Sphinx organization, is going to give a keynote address. We're going to have a birthday party celebration because Gary Carr is 80, Proto is 80, and Rabath is 90. So we're going to have some, so that event we're going to have, streamed and insert some things at like the 5 o'clock hour with more important folks. If they agree, we will do some of that streaming also.
Great. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then, I'm being online every day now. It's like, okay, whatever. But
I'm happy to be number 140, right?
That's 140. Hey guys, you that arrived later, this is my live 140, and every round number I celebrate with some cachaça. This is cachaça from the south, Amburama. So this is it. But Hans, I wanted to introduce an issue here that I've been talking to people. I saw Iberê Carvalho there, which is a great viola player, and he conducts a live every day also about racism in orchestras. And I was gonna ask you, as ISP president, well, you're beginning your second term, so you know this society more than most of us. So how are you seeing the reflexes, of this big issue that it's coming stronger and stronger after George Floyd, about how all the discrimination affects the bassists, mostly in orchestra, I would say, because in the jazz area it's it's more than common, but I don't know if that affects the popular music as much as classical. But
I would say it's, to use a fancy word, endemic. I would say it's everywhere. It's in the system. And people win gigs and lose gigs by virtue of the color of their skin, and it means nothing. Bill Nye, we have a scientist here in the U.S. who does a lot of shows for kids and stuff. He's quite brilliant. Bill Nye, the Science Guy, has got a YouTube video out there. You can find it where he shows what race is in, I think it's a TikTok maybe even, like in 30 seconds. So you have people, all humanity came from Africa. We know that. That's the oldest bones. That's where we found. And what the color of the skin? It's the melanin in the skin. It's the pigment in the skin, and we need it for protection. And the further away you go from the equator in either direction, the less it's the same. We're all the same race. It's yeah. So I don't know what to say about the orchestra. That's a difficult one. I mean, my first collegiate teacher, major collegiate teacher of the bass was Richard Davis, who was a black man. And Richard was a great classical bassist. And when he was living in New York, he subbed with the New York Phil. And he played with Boston under Stravinsky and the music of Milton Babbitt. I mean, but he played with Sarah Vaughan and Freddie Hubbard, and he was very active in the studio scene and everything else. And I don't have all the dates and everything. I don't know his biography super well. Somebody like Peter Dominguez would know better than I, but I'm pretty sure he was the first black man to be offered a position in a major symphony orchestra, and that was St. Louis Symphony. And he turned them down because at that time he was making more money touring with Sarah Vaughan than he was going to be offered to play with the symphony. And so you see this. I don't know how to get a hold of that one with the symphony. I mean, I've subbed with the symphonies. I've played with a lot of symphonies over the years, but that audition process and how that goes, I think that level, it's not just about the audition. People kind of focus on the audition, but I think it starts before that. I mean, I think I was studying with Lowell Kreitz, who was the cellist with the Pro Arte String Quartet in Madison. At the same time, I was working with Richard. And I was doing chamber music with him and pedagogy with him. He was in school at Eastman at the same time Ron Carter was. Of course, Ron Carter, the great jazz bass player who was with Miles for many years in his own right. Ron was working to become, at that time, according to Lowell, to become a great classical bass player. He wanted to be in a major symphony orchestra. And he was basically told, by a whole lot of people around there, you're a black man. You shouldn't follow this path. So that's what I mean. It's like that way of thinking has started so early and has been there for so long. But now we've got folks like Joseph Conyers, like Xavier Foley, who I think may be coming, I hope, to the ISB, who are making a difference. But this is a very, very hard.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's what we call the structural racism that it's inside the society, in all the segments of the society, and not always people realize why they're acting the way they're acting. And why they think it's normal not to have so many black people in orchestras.
Absolutely. And, there's Jackie showed me this. There was a graphic. I want to say it was in the New York Times. It was online. And a historian had taken the record of all of the ships that carried slaves from Africa across the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. And you see the number of boats, and so they have the ship's manifests. There's records of all this stuff. Yeah. So, for instance, of course, there are a ton in the U.S. Even twice that, 3 times that to Brazil and South America, coming over to work the plantations and so on. Mm-hmm. And so you see this great exodus coming across. And it's been there for so long, and all these laws and everything. It's going to take something. I can share a story with you?
Sure.
Okay, so I want to share a story about my father because he was a very interesting man. He grew up in northern New York State, on a farm, and his father died in his arms, in my father's arms, when he was 11. So he and his brother worked the farm and so on, and he decided that he wanted to become a musician. So he went to this small college called Hiram College to be a music education major, playing trombone. I know, trombone, okay. My son plays trombone. I don't know what's happening there, but anyway. So he was there for several years, and while he was there, he heard somebody from the University of Chicago give a talk on ethics and morality, heavy stuff, and it blew his mind. So he didn't finish the degree. He changed his major, and then he got into the University of Chicago, got a master's and a doctorate in ethics, had a big career, wrote lots of things, was all about community and organization. So he got his job at Bucknell, he was feted, and finally it comes time for him to retire. And Bucknell wanted to do something, the university where he taught wanted to do something special because he was so involved in the community. For instance, in our town where I grew up, there's a men's maximum security federal penitentiary. The worst of the worst are there. And so my father got a paralegal degree so he could go counsel some of the prisoners. Many of them were black and had a problem and so on. So anyway, Bucknell wanted to have something to celebrate my father and his work. It couldn't be a lecture because a lecture is one person, it's a monologue. It couldn't be a debate because a debate is two people and it's an argument. So they said we have the Douglas Sturm dialogue on ethics. So they brought in two people. And because of the nature of my father, and I just use these as descriptors, it was a black entrepreneur and a lesbian theologian, a lesbian priest, black businessman. And the question that they were to have a dialogue was, does the marketplace have a conscience? You imagine, right? So the entrepreneur says, the marketplace is where people come together to buy and sell and exchange things. People have a conscience, therefore the marketplace has a conscience. The theologian says, no. Corporations exist to make profits only. Corporations don't care about people, so they go back and forth and back and forth. Finally, at the end, there's a question and answer, and one of my father's friends gets up to ask a question, but instead of asking them, he turns around and he asks my father. He says, Doug, it's your fault we're all here, right? He says, what do you think? And my father gets up and he says, it's interesting to me to think in the Latin, echo, economics. Echo, it is the family or the house. Economics, it's the house or family of finance. Ecumenical, it's the house or the family of religion or belief. He said, it is my feeling if we're not truly taking care of everybody who's at home, if we're truly not taking care of everybody who's in the family, we have a desperate problem. And he sat down. In 20 seconds, he wrapped it all up. It's about racism, it's about sexism, it's about the wealthy getting wealthy, but he wrapped that whole issue up in a little package with a bow in 25 seconds and said, this is what we need to focus our lives on.
It's
in
really
whatever way we do.
And thank you for sharing that story. I think I read some on your profile, I think, in your Facebook.
There's a story about him buying a house for a black family so that they could move. Yeah. It's the kind of stuff,
well, the reason I'm talking to you about this is because I think that ISB is being, for along this 50 years, so much, gathering. It's feeling this place of gathering all sort of bass players. And I never felt bad in there, never. At ISB, I always felt part of the family. But this is a big issue that I think everybody in all societies should talk about because it's in there. We don't feel that at ISB, but bassists feel that type of thing all over the world. So I remember the last ISB, we had a forum on women on the bass.
The page, yes, on gender and diversity, and we will have it. We will have that again, and one on diversity for race also is my intention to have both. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think we're gonna have something on race also?
Yes, yeah, yeah. There'll be one on diversity, dealing with the Black Lives Matter and all of that. That's our plan, and or it's my plan. We have to see how all this works out. I mean, we're still so many months away, you know. But these are the kind of the big things. You know, who's going to come and be the headliners in jazz and in classical music? The kinds of things that I want to do, that we're hoping to do. I want to do an evening of new concertos with the chamber orchestra. Uh, I want to be able to do something special for the Rabat Proto. I want to do. We have a partnership with Jazz in June. I mentioned that. That's that first Tuesday night. I want to bring in an exciting bass player because it's a free outdoor concert. You know, 4,000 people come. There are food trucks, and I mean, and it's in a sculpture garden in front of a beautiful museum, and it's right there. You just walk out the door from one hall, and you're in the sculpture garden.
Wow.
It's good. So this is my hope. We can do all this. But you know, I will just say something about the bass society, and you know, I think part of that is when we're with each other, and this was early. I mean, I noticed this early on. I guess the first time I became super aware of it was in, I want to say it was '97 maybe, in Houston, and Teppo.
It was 97, yeah.
Yeah, Teppo Hata'a was giving a very avant-garde, you know, like he was improvising for his 50 minutes. It was crazy, wild. And you know how he is. He's all over and moving like Bar, but, you know, it just really wonderful. And I turn around and I recognize at least half a dozen major symphony players there. And David Walter was one of them. And I had met David a few years before in Scotland at the Edinburgh Festival and the Fringe Festival, and I was kind of like, "Oh man, I'm surprised, but so happy to see you here." And his response was, "Where the hell else would I be?" You're talking to someone. You were bass players, you know, and it was like all of a sudden it kind of clicked. Like, oh yeah, but there are many bass players in the symphony who play jazz and so on. Most of what we do is support other people. We're the foundation, whether it's the symphony or a jazz band, or you're working with a singer or a horn player or whatever it is you're doing, we're supporting them. They're the ones in the front. So we're naturally have a natural inclination to support people. And so when we get together, we support each other. It's normal. But we can't say the same thing for some of the, you know.
Yeah, it's not the same all over, unfortunately. But I think we're doing our part at ISB, and I think I can say we, because I've been there since 1993, so I feel like yes, part of the thing.
That's super important point that you just made, because we are the ISB. Sometimes people think the ISB is something apart. Somebody's making a decision over there. But you can get involved. You can become involved in a team. You can reach out to me. We are the ISB. If you're a member, this organization is us. It's not somebody. Well, I guess it's me. Okay, so there you go. It's me. Somebody making decisions, but with input from everybody, and we all need to come together on this. Yeah.
You know, you have the ISB has this web all over the world since before the internet, right? Because we had the Brazilian Society, and you came, you know, to the meetings and everything. And what?
Piranópolis, yes.
Yeah, in Piranópolis, yes. I can't. I still, when I remember that, I saw Bert Threskin going up the you know, up the hills and everything with Nancy one time, and we were doing crazy things at the waterfalls in there, but you know, it was part of playing the bass.
such a beautiful memory. Yeah.
It was a great time. I hope we can, you know, do it again sometime when you get together, the healthy and money, health and money. Those. Well, we had a lot of people getting in, and I didn't have the time to acknowledge, but thank you guys for being there. Francis Sepa and Mayara and Johnny, you're there. Johnny Hamil. we need you here someday, you know, and Marcos Bezerra, Luciane Cardassi, and, you know, Marcia, and everybody. Thank you. And, you know, it's about 35 minutes, something you want to share with us for the ISB in Nebraska that you want to, you know, to tell Brazilian bassists a way to be there. It's not presential. You're gonna have the chance of being online. I don't know whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. You know, like I say, a lot of things are up in the air. But I have asked Nielsen Mata to perform as part of the evening, do an evening of Brazilian music. Yeah, there'll be a ton of stuff. The nice thing about Lincoln with regards to the ISB is within about 5 blocks, right downtown, it's all the venues, about 150 restaurants, and 8 major hotels. So you can park your car and forget it for the week. You know, really. And what that means, because very often, you know, you go someplace and you go to the university where the events are, but then the hotel zone is maybe 15-minute drive or something. So in this case, because everything is so close together, the ability to get together and to hang and not to have to worry about doing anything, to make connections with people is really super fantastic. And that area we call the Haymarket is just down the street from this little area where the where all the venues are. These are old brick buildings that were used as part of the railway system, warehouses that are now turned into coffee shops and bars and restaurants, and it's a very vibrant area. So in terms of the presenting things, of course, we have all the typical competitions, 14 and under, 15 to 18, the senior competition, the orchestra competition, jazz competition, bass makers competition. We have the Build-A-Bass program. We have a wood shop. So for those who are luthiers who would like to learn from master luthiers, Paul Hart will be running that again, and that will be in the basement of the Richard Building. And all these buildings surround a sculpture garden.
Oh, that's good.
So it's there's really, yeah, you may need to cross a street, but it's like one street to the hotel. I mean, it's not much. You know, it's
wonderful.
very easy.
We had conventions in the past that we had to walk a lot. And although it's summer, it's always good to walk outside, but especially now, we're very glad to walk outside. But it's great when things are very close. It's you know, save us time to stay together.
Yeah.
Great.
Sure.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much for spending this half an hour with us, Hans. It was great.
It's my pleasure. And if anybody has any questions or want to reach out, the University of Nebraska Lincoln, that's UNL .edu. If you go to the University of Nebraska or just Google my name, University of Nebraska, Google my name, you'll find my email address, and I am happy to respond to any questions, anything you want to know. Yeah, that's it, unl.edu. I will get back to you and share with you. I want to say that, you know, one of the things in the Corona that's been good is trying to get these older projects done. There's a project I wrote another set of tunes called the Nebraska Project for Jackie, bass and voice. So that's in the process of being finished. I've been working on Rabath's biography for now almost 3 years, and that's in the process of being finished. And then a solo bass CD. So that's the one nice thing about this is sometimes it can give you it gives you the time to do what you would once you can get motivated and get past, because it can get lonely. I get that. I mean, it can get lonely and it can be difficult. So, but if you can find the motivation to do something, go do it. And if I can help motivate you, write me and I'll send you something exciting to get you going. Maybe.
Woo-hoo! Okay. Okay, so let's write Hans then.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Hans. Well, people, thank you very much for being there. Please take care of yourselves. Wear masks, alcohol, and not to drink, you know, the other alcohol. And stay home. Please stay home. That's what we need. At least in Brazil now, we gotta stay home. Okay,
Yeah.
Hans.
Bass love to everybody,
Love ya.
even the
Bye.
violas.